We've all been there, right? That moment your kid hits a wall with their homework and, well, the frustration just boils over. But what if that I don't get it moment isn't the end of the road? What if it's actually the start of something amazing? Today, we're going to dive into the science of confusion and show you exactly how to turn that struggle into your child's new superpower. Oh man, you know the scene. Your child's reading, they hit a tough word, and bam, the book is shoved away, arms crossed, and learning just screeches to a halt. It is so easy to see that as, defiance or even laziness. But here's the thing, and this is really important. It's not a character flaw. It's actually a biological reflex. It's a literal alarm going off in their brain because of uncertainty. So if we want to handle that alarm, we've got to understand what's actually happening under the hood. This isn't about willpower. It's about biology. It's a predictable chain reaction going on inside their brain. Okay, so here's what happens first. There's a part of the brain, the anterior cingulate cortex, that basically acts like a smoke detector for the mind. It senses a conflict, like, wait, I'm supposed to get this, but I don't, and it just starts blaring. Now, for a kid, that signal doesn't feel like curiosity. No way. It feels like anxiety. Their brain literally perceives confusion as a threat, and it kicks off that whole fight or flight response before they even have a chance to think. And while that siren is wailing, something else is going on. Think of our working memory. You know, the part of the brain that's juggling all the new stuff, like a really small cup. Cognitive load theory tells us that when you pour too much new, hard information in there at once, the cup just overflows. It spills everywhere. So your child isn't refusing to learn. Their brain is literally flooded. It physically cannot take in one more drop of information. And here it is, the final piece of the shutdown puzzle. That anxiety siren, plus the overflowing cup of information, it causes stress hormones to just spike. And these hormones, they go straight to the hippocampus, which is kind of like the brain's library, where learning and memory live. And when a kid is anxious, the door to that library doesn't just close, it gets slammed shut, bolted, locked. Absolutely no new information is getting in. All right, so we have this biological chain reaction that literally shuts down learning. But, this whole process gets triggered way more often than it should, and that's because we have a huge misunderstanding about what learning is actually supposed to feel like. We kind of expect understanding to be like magic, right? Instant, poof, you get it. And if it's not instant, we think something must be wrong. But the science? It tells a totally different story. Look, even the best readers almost never get something on the first try. It turns out that learning that feels hard and slow, there's a great term for this. It's called desirable difficulty. That's the stuff that leads to really deep, long-lasting memory. So here's the big takeaway. The struggle isn't a sign that you're failing. The struggle is the process. I love this analogy. It's perfect. Our kids are basically growing up in a fast food world of information. Apps, videos, everything's designed for instant answers. But deep learning, like really digging into a tough book, that's more like slow cooking. It's a stew. It needs time to simmer for all the flavors to come together. So when a kid who's used to a 30-second video suddenly faces a slow stew, that lack of instant clarity can feel like a real problem. It can trigger panic because they just haven't built up the muscle for slow cooking yet. And you know what? This is where we, as parents, can accidentally pour fuel on the fire. We mean well, right? We say things like, just try harder, or you need to focus. But all that does is ramp up the pressure. The kid feels like they're being graded, they get terrified of being wrong, and all that extra stress just floods their brain even more. It pushes that danger alarm deeper into the red and makes them want to run away from the task even faster. Okay, so if adding pressure is the wrong move, what's the right one? Well, the goal isn't to get rid of the struggle. The goal is to make the struggle feel safe. And there's a really simple 4-step method to do just that, to calm down that brain siren and reopen the door to learning. Now, before we even get into the 4 steps, I want you to remember this one thing. This is the golden rule. Safety first, learning second. Always. Your child's brain literally cannot engage with learning until it feels emotionally safe. So your number one job isn't to be the expert who explains the hard word. Your job is to be the calm, steady presence that signals, hey, it's okay to be confused here. You're safe. When you do that, the alarm stops, and that library door swings back open. All right, so here are the 4 steps that bring that idea to life. We've got the just looking pass, normalize the mess, reward the struggle, and finally, be the anchor. Let's break them down one by one. Step 1 is called the just looking pass. And the magic of this is how simple it is. You completely remove the pressure to understand. You literally tell your child, okay, for this first time through, we are just going to read this to say hello to the words. That's it. You don't have to get it yet. And it works. Because just seeing the words once means their brain has less work to do on the second pass. The pressure is just gone. Step 2 is a huge mental shift. It's called normalize the mess. You're teaching them that confusion isn't a problem. It's actually part of the solution. The script is so simple, but it's a game changer. When they say, I don't get it, you say, oh, good, you're confused. That's awesome. That means your brain is growing right now. When kids start to see confusion as just a normal, expected stop on the road to learning, their anxiety just melts away. It's not about them being smart or not anymore. Okay, step 3, reward the struggle. This is all about what you praise. So instead of praising the results, like, great job, you got it right, you praise the process. You say things like, wow, I love how you wrestled with that sentence, or I'm so impressed you didn't give up. Praising the effort like that does something amazing. It builds their awareness of their own learning process, and it makes them way more likely to stick with it next time things get tough. And that brings us to step 4, which might be the most important one of all. Be the anchor. You know, our nervous systems are basically contagious. If your kid is spinning out in a panic, your calm can literally bring them back down to earth. The action itself is simple, but I know it's not always easy. You just slow down. You lower your voice. You take a visible, slow breath. Instead of jumping in with the answer, you just offer them your calm. You become their anchor in that sea of confusion. So we've looked at the problem, we've walked through the 4 steps to solve it, but now let's just zoom out for a second. Because this is about so much more than just getting through tonight's homework. See, when you teach a child how to just sit with confusion, to be okay with it, you're giving them a true superpower, the power of not knowing yet. You're building resilience, you're building persistence, and we know from tons of research that those are the skills that predict long-term success way more than just raw talent. So when you make it safe to struggle, you're not just helping them finish a chapter, you're helping them become a braver, more independent person who isn't afraid of life's inevitable challenges. And that just leaves us with one final thought. We are so conditioned to see that I don't get it moment as a failure, as a big red stop sign. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if we could teach our kids, and let's be honest, ourselves, to see that moment not as the end of the line, but as the real start of the adventure?